Hi, it's Therese from Lostinpaper, and I'm here with my Back to Basics in card making. So I've already listed all the basic products that you need in my previous video, and today I thought one of the easiest ways to sort of share some information was to actually make a card and explain the process as I go. It's really hard to know where to start. There's so many different products and goodies out there. It can be quite overwhelming and intimidating. So just try and work out what sort of style you might like to try or product that inspires you and start there. You can find inspiration anywhere, and a simple thing is to grab, say, a paper pad, and I've got this Echo Park one out called Splendid Sunshine, which has the prettiest papers and colours, and I thought it'd go really well with this stamp set from Avery called Storybook. So I'm going to use one of the top fold card bases that I made in my first video. So I've chosen a piece of striped bright cardstock from the paper pad, and I'm going to keep the card very simple so I can show you a few different techniques along the way. And I'll just make a little pencil mark where I want to make my cuts with my paper trimmer. You can also use scissors or a ruler with a blade and on a self-healing mat if you're comfortable with that. But paper trimmers are quite inexpensive, so if you're going to be doing a bit of paper craft, then it's a really handy tool to have. So this particular trimmer made by Fiskars has a guide wire in it, and where I've put my little mark on my cardstock, I just pop my guide wire on top of that, and then I'll flip it over and do the same. Just use an eraser to rub off those little bits of pencil. Now if you're going to be using some double-sided tape, a good trick with this is to place it along all four sides of your panel that you're wanting to stick down, and then lift up the two opposing corners. Press that down to hold them so that they hold back. And then the two corners that have no tape exposed are the ones that you press on as you're trying to line it up on your cardstock. Once it's lined up where you need, then you press on the corners that have the glue exposed, and it's a matter of peeling away the tape. Now today I'm going to be stamping onto this design paper, which is a really good trick because if you're not a confident stamper, the good thing about stamping onto another piece of paper means that you've got options. If it doesn't stamp properly the first time, then you can always try again. So I've got some Onyx Black, which is a pigment ink. This is a really nice ink to use if you're a beginner stamper because it stamps beautifully. So I've just done that without even thinking, but the best way to add ink to your stamp is to actually lay your stamp on its back and tap the ink pad to the stamp. And then hold it above the paper, and if you're wanting to get a certain, especially when you're stamping on design paper, if you're wanting a certain pattern to show through, then you can simply move it round and then push it down, hold it for a second, try not to rock it, and then lift straight up. It's a good idea to clean your stamps as you go, and I like to use a baby wipe to do that. There are products that you can buy to spray and stamp cleaners and everything, but the baby wipes work fine most of the time. So now that my image has had a few moments to dry, I want to fussy cut it out, and there's a couple of different ways to fussy cut, and the way I'm going to do this today is to cut right on the black line that I've stamped. You can also fussy cut with a very small border. I usually do that when I'm using white cardstock if I want that kind of a look, and it just comes down to personal preference. One of the tricks here when you're fussy cutting is to actually move your cardstock and not your scissors. So if you keep your scissors facing forward, and then you can roll your cardstock around as you're cutting. Now here's something that you don't have to do, but can just finish your project just off that little bit better, is run a black marker along the edge of the cutout. It just gets rid of the raw edges, and when you're looking at the image from the front, it looks like you've cut it out perfectly. And to add that little bit of oomph to the image, I sometimes add a bit of shading, and you can use a pencil with this. Any kind of pencils will do. I like to use Prismacolor pencils. They're just a wax-based pencil that can be blended, but I find they're very forgiving and easy to use. And I'm just highlighting a few areas to make this little fella look just a little bit more dimensional. So if you do only have a large block and you want to stamp a small image, what I like to do is I'm just partial inking this stamp because I won't need the string for the balloon. So I don't want to cut that out, promise you. But I'll stamp my image, and then I'll use another image out of the set to stabilise the stamp, and then I will be less likely to rock. I'm going to simply stamp down and then lift up. It's much easier to fussy cut an image that's not on a large piece of paper, so I usually cut that out first. So I'd already cut this panel to fit the front of my card, and I'm going to put my little image in the corner and of course add the balloon above. I'm going to get really daring now because we're going to stamp directly onto the cardstock that's going to be on the front, but that's okay because there's nothing else on there. I'm not going to stick this down until I've got the rest of the card base ready. So if I do muck up my stamping, it doesn't matter, I can always start again. I often don't think about my sentiment until the last, and it's probably not a really good way to go because then you might be limited about which one you can use. I want to use one off this set. I was thinking it'd be cute to either use this Wish Big or Make a Wish. And I'll simply just hold it on my card and work out, you know, what sort of look I want really. So I'll lay my stamp down on my grid mat so I know that it's straight, and then I can use my block to pick up the stamp, and it's straight on the grid as well. It's just going to help me get my sentiment straight. There are lots of tools that you can use. Probably one of my favourite positioning tool is my Stamp-A-Majig, and that's a really handy one to have, but you don't have to have it. It's just one of those things. I'm a bit of a tool freak. Add my ink to my stamp again, and once the ink's actually on the stamp, it helps you see if you're going to be straight or not. And same again, press my stamp down, try not to rock, and then lift straight up. So I like to ground my images just so they don't look like they're floating in the middle of the card, and a really simple way to do that is to use a pencil. I'm working out so just where my rabbit's going to be, and I'll add a light pencil line to that. So thinner at each edge and then a bit wider in the middle because that's where the shadow is going to be cast. And then I'll grab a bit darker grey and mostly focus that in the centre here. And before I stick down my pieces, I just want to draw my balloon string. Just keeping it really simple. I'll go over that with another pencil. So next I want to pop up this panel, and what that means is adding dimension to the card, and the easiest way to do that is with these foam squares or foam dots. There's so many different kinds. You can get sheets of it, rolls of it, and I like this one from American Crafts called This to That. These are foam squares, and they're sticky on one side and have little release sheets on the front, so once you take that top side off, this is sticky as well. Perfect for card making. Come in all different sizes, and you can also cut them. So once the paper is off the back of all the sticky foam squares, simply line it up on your card front and adhere it down. And the final type of glue that I'm going to use today is a liquid adhesive. This one's Tombow Mono. It's probably one of my favourite liquid adhesives. You don't need much, it's pretty fast drying, and it gives you a little bit of wiggle time. I'll do the same on the balloon. A very simple card using a few different types of adhesives, basic stamping with some clear stamps and some fun papers from Echo Park. So I hope you've had some fun. I'll be back again real soon. Till then, happy paper crafting. Bye.